Dr. Darga, the high school principal, gave the new tech sophomores a math problem to figure out the amount of fencing needed for a new senior parking lot right up in front of the high school. The teacher that helped the students through this was Mr. Cogswell, and he gave them the background math to figure out the perimeter of fencing and how long each side would need to be. And this is how they did it. In order to solve this problem, we had to figure out the length and the width of how much fence would be on each side of the three sides of the fence. In order to do that, you start breaking it down and to try to get a trinomial. And then by then you break it down to get each side. With that, you start with a 2x plus 4 equals 800, and then you subtract 2x from both sides, and then you use the x times y equals 4,000 and plug in what you got for the 2x plus y equals 800 in for y for the x times y for 4,000. Then you times x by 1800 minus negative 2x. To get the plus x squared minus 2,000 equals 0. Then you're going to break it up into a trinomial with negative 2 still on the outside, within parentheses, x minus 40 or x plus negative 40, parenthesis, the next set is x plus 50. Then you're going to solve for x and get negative 40 and 50. And since there cannot be negatives for an area or a perimeter, it would just alternate into a positive. Now by doing this, you can figure out that you can either do it based off one length being based off 40 or the other being based off 50. We're going to do it based off 40. So if you're doing it one length, x, based off 40, then y would have to be 100 to get 40, 100, 40 on the three sides of the rectangle. That would give you the 180 yards that you will need a fence to cover that area. Proof by graphing is another way to show how we got the 40 or 50 yards.
After solving the math that Clarice had just gone through, I took the equation negative 2x squared plus 180x minus 4,000 and plugged it into Grapher. Now before doing so, we knew that our graph was going to be negative because c is negative 4,000. So after plugging it into the Grapher and finding out where it was, the max point was 50 and the y-intercept was 45.
In addition to what Connor had said, another solution that we can use is quadratic formula. The quadratic formula is x equals negative b plus minus to the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. The equation that I needed to use to plug into the quadratic formula is negative 2x squared plus 180x minus 4,000 equals 0. To be able to plug in that equation into the quadratic formula, I needed to take out a, b, and c. They equal a equals negative 2, b equals 180, c equals negative 4,000. Now, since that I have gotten the variables out, I can now plug in, which the plug-in should look like x equals negative 180 plus or minus to the square root of 180 squared minus 4 times negative 2 times negative 4,000 divided by 2 times negative 2. The next step would be, in solving this quadratic formula, would be get 180 squared which equals 32,400,000, and then get negative 4 times negative 2 times negative 4,000, which that equals negative 32,000. Then you need to get 2 times negative 2, which equals negative 4. Now you need to subtract the numbers inside of the square root, which that equals negative 400, which that equals 400. So far the equation should look like x equals negative 180 plus or minus to the square root of 400 divided by negative 4. Since we know that the square root of 400 is a perfect square, we know that it should be 20. Since it's 20, the equation now should look like x equals negative 180 plus or minus 20 divided by negative 4. The next step in solving this, which is the last step, would be now to take negative 180, add it to 120, then divide that answer by negative 4, which all equals 40. Then you need to take negative 180, subtract it from 20, and then divide that by negative 4, which equals 50.
Using these three different ways, it helps prove the point that you can either use a 40, 100, 40 around the three-sided fence, or a 50, 80, 50 around the three-sided fence to use up all 180 yards of fence around the new parking lot for the high school.